¿Qué pasó, YouTube? I might as well play a little catch up here. Just did that MFS review, and now I'm going to talk about my SMF. All right, so I hate to, I hate to seem like a Strider fanboy at the moment. Nothing could be farther from the truth. By the way, guys, a lot of my experiences with mixed Strider have been fairly negative. I don't know. Back in the day, 6-7 years ago, when I was a member of Usual Suspects, I got kicked off by one of the people in his circle jerk, and so I mean, yeah, I got no real reason to suck his dick or anything like that, for lack of a better term. But I'm just going to talk about this knife because I don't give a shit otherwise. But anyhow, picked up this SMF mainly because I'm such a big fan of the SNG. And I kind of just looked at, and like I've said before, the Strider heat treat is just awesome. Picked up this SMF because, I started noticing the subtle differences of the SMF and the SNG, and so I'll talk a little bit about that. Obviously, the SMF has 4 screws in the handle. It's a bigger knife, of course. So I kind of started thinking about what are the other subtle differences that you might not notice, okay? And the first one is basically because this 4th screw is so much closer to the pivot, that's gonna add a lot more rigidity to the handle. So you got so you can see here the SNG and the SMF, a lot closer screw there to the pivot, and then you got a lot more material holding the integral backspacer and this side of the G10 together on the SMF than you do on the SNG. Okay, and then there's just smaller things like basically this cutout between the pivot and the lock bar here. More material there between the pivot cutout and the lock bar cutout. Alright, so just kind of something simple. Alright, the screws on the SMF are like right on the edge of the handle. SNG on the edge of the handle. The SMF, they're really close there, but there's actually more material between the edge of the handle and the screws. Alright, and then just like, one more thing is, big fat thick blade, which I'm not necessarily a huge fan of, but big blade with the big stop pin fixed in there, that's all part of the lockup, so a little more robust there. Not like it's necessary, but it is there. And then bigger stop pin, more surface area from there onto this titanium side, so more surface area on the lock. Okay, so stronger lock. More surface area on the blade here for the lock bar to ride over on. Okay, so probably a little bit longer life there on the SMF than the SNG. So yeah, those are some considerations, and kind of made me pull the trigger. Another big thing is, guys, I'm almost 100% sure that the SMF is the original knife in this design. So you got the SMF, the SNG, the PT, all similar shape. But the SMF, I believe, is the first one. So I kind of was like, I want to see what the original brainchild is all about. All right. So first thing right out of the box, my initial thought was, it's kind of a honker, And I actually have a sheet of titanium that Mixed Strider gave me many years ago, and that has cutouts of the SNG handles on them and a couple of cutouts of the SMF handles. So I've always had that as a reference, and they're just really not that much different in size, until you get the thing in your hand. Right? It actually is a lot more substantial. Just those smaller, little bit different in dimension, make a much bigger knife in the hand. It feels like anyway. So first thing I thought was, how in the fuck could this have been the original design? It's not nearly as comfortable as the SNG is, right out of the box, right off the bat. Definitely takes some getting used to. But that could just be me. I do have extra large hands. Also, this, just for reference here, this This Spyderco Paramilitary 2, I've never really gotten used to. I've never really felt like this is a very comfortable knife to hold. And a lot of people sing the praises of how, ergonomic it is, but just not so for me, But picked up this knife new from Blue Line Gear, and I think I've been carrying it right around 6 weeks now, 7 weeks, something like that. This knife has pretty much been, in that time, in my pocket every day. There may have been like 2 days out of that entire time that this knife has not been in my pocket. And I've definitely put it through its paces. Alright? Well, I kind of have a love-hate relationship with the edge that they put on it. I don't know. Oddly enough, the newest Strider knives that I have, their edge right in this area is right around 30 degrees, which was never my experience with Strider knives in the past. Always very obtuse. And this is like right around 30 degrees, brand new, okay? But as you get towards this belly here, it changes to like 45 degrees, alright? And I don't really like that. I find when I have to sharpen it, as I go down to the edge, I have to change the angle as I'm sharpening. So I have to kind of, and it's just kind of a pain in the ass. I still haven't gotten used to it with this or with my MFS. I put marker on the edge every time just to make sure that I'm getting it just right, Eventually, I really would like to reprofile the edge so the entire thing is 30 degrees, because that's just what I like. But, I've never thought that I would want to have a knife that's like over 5 ounces, This knife, I believe, is right around 6 ounces. My next heaviest knife would be my Chris Reeve Knives Large Sabenza. It's a much smaller, svelter package, great knife. I still think the Sabenza is probably the finest knife money can buy. As far as fit, finish, just being a fantastic thing goes. But for what it is and how beefy and chunky and substantial this knife is, it doesn't seem heavy, And actually, that's probably one of the #1 comments that I get from any friends that I feel like would appreciate the thing that I show it to them. They seem to all mention that it's very light, which is kind of interesting because it's the heaviest folding knives that I have. I'm not sure exactly what the proper application for this knife is, other than being just a fantasy thing, where it's like, if shit goes down, I got an awesome knife, that's just probably what a lot of us, our mindset might be. But the rational thing, I guess, is that you don't want to carry a fixed blade knife. I'm not a huge fan of carrying a fixed blade knife. I've been, using a knife a lot lately, though, out here in the dang old desert. So I've been carrying a fixed blade on and off, but I would certainly much rather carry this than a fixed blade knife, all things considered. Just because it is lighter, it takes up way less real estate on your body. I'm just not a fan of carrying a bunch of crap around. So, anyhow, guys, I'm just going to make this short, and I really like the knife. There's not necessarily anything bad I can say about it. My camera's kind of doing weird shit because the sun is like going back and forth behind the clouds. But this is the Dark Earth Stonewash, obviously flame titanium. And I really like the knife, man. I really don't know what else to say about it. Oh, real quick, I forgot I had this military. Just for size reference, you can see a lot smaller than the military, actually, too. So, but unlike the military, which shrinks on you real fast when you start carrying it, this knife hasn't necessarily shrunk on me in the 7 weeks that I've carried it. I mean, it still is a pretty substantial thing to carry around. But guys, questions, comments, concerns, smart remarks, if you have a request, post it below. I'd be happy to try to answer it. Otherwise, guys, palabra a tu madre, and don't let your meatloaf blaze. And check out my wiener. Woo!